All right, I'm going to remember to start recording on time today, so that's good. Maybe before we get into this lesson about lab testing, any questions from last week on essential oils? Or I know like Amber was saying she's still catching up on some old ones. Any questions at all you want to cover? You can unmute yourself or you can use the chat box. So today is our last live call. It's kind of sad. And if you have any questions too, you want to make sure I cover today on this one on lab testing, I can do my best. No questions, I think. Okay. So since this is the last one, I want to sort of, hi Marissa, remind you guys how to access everything because you'll have to go back and access things later. So let me share my screen. So for now, you know, this might change a year from now, but for now, you just go to bridgetdanner.com and then client access. And then the bottom one is the members page. So it'll stay on the link, but there could be a time where we don't want it on the home page for some reason anymore. And then you can just go back to your emails or contact our help desk. And then the password is detox love. And so now you've got basically everything in here. Whoops, I need to let somebody in. Hi, Sarah. So here's all the old ones, and then this one's for today, and I'll add the video once it's done. And if you haven't accessed some of these, some of them you just open up. This is just like a video that'll play for you about heavy metals. This, I think you might have to put in your email address, but you get green cleaning recipes. This one you do put in your email address, and it's breakfast ideas. They're all like vegan, like gluten-free, everything free breakfast. This is just a nice, sweet little detox guide. One of my friends contributed, and it's got some recipes. So if you're looking for more of like a food-based detox, you could do her little detox plan. And then if you haven't watched this is the mitochondria bonus video. I think it's really interesting. And I'm just going to be putting out an article on mitochondria in a couple days. I'm going to be talking about, did anybody here attend the supplements webinar last week on Wednesday? I can't remember if any of you guys were there. I'm going to redo it tomorrow because I didn't have like a lot of attendance on it live. And Andrea was there. Andrea, you get some points for being on the supplement webinar. Who else?
I was there.
Who is that? Oh, Anna. Okay. Hi, Anna. Thank you. Yeah, I think it went well, but we still were sort of tidying some things up on the shop. So we're going to redo the webinar. But if anyone missed it, I will post, it's tomorrow at 2 Pacific. I will post the link to it in the Facebook group, or maybe I can grab it before we finish today also. Anyway, that's your tour of everything. And today we're at functional lab testing. You know, I probably haven't covered every lab here, but I've covered a lot of them and the more unusual ones so that you're getting the unusual ones covered. I did not actually cover thyroid in here because that's a little less unusual, but we could talk about that because I probably should have covered that now that I'm thinking about it. And I have a second document about lab costs. So this is current as of now. You know, it might change. Okay, let me back up. Some labs you can only get through a practitioner, and then some labs you can get straight from the lab or from a practitioner. So generally speaking, when you get them through us as a client, it's cheaper. They're just an extra fee if they're sort of having to deal with you as a client. So you can kind of keep that in mind. And then we have, you know, I was trying to decide on a coupon code for you guys. So we decided on $150 off that you can either use for a new client appointment or the 6-month coaching program. So for the coaching program, it's 3 payments. So I think it'll take $50 off each payment. You don't have to start right away, but I'd like you to get it by November, just so it's not like hanging out there. If there's some like special request, you can reach out to us. And another thing to keep in mind, we just went through this with a different potential client, and she was like, well, I don't want to start now, it's the holidays. Well, if you're going to run labs, you're not really starting right away, because say you want to order a lab that we see today, it's often a month before you get the result back. So and it could be longer. So just keep that in mind, that if you do want to run a stool test or whatever, you don't really have to like start tomorrow, because nothing happens quite that fast in this world. But yeah, this is a code, and I'd love to work with any of you privately. You can also work with my colleague Anne, who I was going to have on today, but then I ended up not. But she's amazing with hormones and the gut. So I usually recommend that if you're focused on one of those 2 things, to see her. And then if you want to be doing more with toxins, to see me, or if you just want to see me because you want to see me, that's fine too. But she was actually my mentor as I went through functional health coaching. So there's a lot of things she knows that I don't know, actually. So anyway, let's get into labs. In the chat. Are there notes from last week? Last week, Anna, not exactly. There's an ebook that Marisa provided, and that link is on there. But there aren't exactly notes, because it was a little different format, like with the interview. So not, yeah, I guess the short answer is no. I did post in the list of those like top or oils for hormones and detox. Okay, so here we go. I thought what we could do is go over the test a bit, and I can show you some examples. And I'd really love your questions, because I don't really know what your questions are about lab testing. So just hit me up. I'm starting out with the Dutch test. Is anybody here already run a Dutch test? Mickey, have you run one?
Yes, I use that test a lot.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is like our go-to test too. Andrea said no. So this is a urine test, and you just pee on a sort of like a piece of paper 4 or 5 times a day. So you get a 4 or 5 times a day thing because we're testing your cortisol levels as they change throughout the day. So normally we just test what's called a Dutch Complete, which is a 1-day test around 21 days into your cycle, or 19 days. If you don't cycle anymore, you can take it any day. So it's testing your female hormones and also your adrenal hormones. This is kind of a short list here: cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, melatonin. And then they started to test for some other things too, like neurotransmitters and vitamins. So it's a pretty great test. And through us, the Dutch Complete is $250. There's also a test called Dutch Cycling, which is more, I don't know how many times it is throughout the month, like 10 times you test your female hormones throughout the month to see what's going on with the timing of your cycle. I just realized as I was looking this up, when you get the cycling, you don't get some of the extras with the Dutch Complete unless you pay extra. So it does get more expensive if you want to know what your adrenals are doing, plus you want to know what your cycle's doing from day to day. But for some women, that's appropriate. And I have a male sample report here as well. Oh, that was Karen's questions. Yeah, it can be used for men too. And it's basically all the same hormones. You just are expecting a little, different results with men. So this is the male sample report, instructions. So let me show you. And we've got a video from Anne about the Dutch. There's tons of information if you want some. And let me show you the test. So this is, some random person. We don't know anything about their history. But this person is showing very high estrogen. So, it's saying it's a woman who's age 63. So I don't know if this was someone who is perhaps supplementing with estrogen, probably. But these little ranges are showing like, are you postmenopausal or where are you at? So this woman is kind of low except for estrogen being high. And then she's making a lot of DHEA, which is like a hormone precursor, and not much cortisol. This is an interesting one. If you run this test, like this woman is the red line, and here's the high range and the low range. So she's kind of hovering pretty low all the time, especially in the morning. She's like below range. So this can tell you some cool stuff about like if your cortisol is high in the morning, that can show some stress over the night, like digestive infections, that kind of a thing. Mostly we look at the picture pages because they're funner. So here you can see how hormones are sort of broken down in the body. Like this is showing testosterone, types of testosterone that are like more inflammatory versus not. So that can be really interesting, like if you're dealing with acne or hair growth, that kind of a thing. And this is showing types of estrogen that are made and how they are broken down. And you want, these ratios right to lower your chances of cancer. And this is kind of showing how you break down estrogens, and it's reflecting your COMT enzyme a little bit. And let's see. Well, it's fine. We could spend a lot of time on this test, but I won't go too deep. Okay. So this is telling you a little bit about how much cortisol is made versus how much stays in circulation, versus like the body will actually bind cortisol if there's too much, or the body wants to like slow itself down. So sometimes showing that cortisol is getting bound is showing that the body is like in stress and wanting to slow, shunt the amount of cortisol available for some reason. And then here's some things about the vitamin testing and the neurotransmitter testing we talked about. It's pretty cool that they added that and they didn't raise the price. I think I missed the page about melatonin, but they also tell you melatonin production, which is helpful. Oh, here's a number version. If you're having trouble with sleeping, I know a couple people have their blue blocker glasses on, which is great. That's keeping your melatonin production good in the nighttime. Any questions about that one before we move on? Maybe I should tell you what it's for. So it can be used for a lot of things, because it's pretty diverse. So if you feel like you're tired wired or tired all the time, or you have no sex drive, or you're going through perimenopause, or you're having fertility questions, could be good for all of that. I wouldn't say I primarily use it for neurotransmitters or detox, but this is just some fun extras that you get with the test. All right, that's that guy. So lots of info here. Again, you can do it with us, and you can also do it independently if you want. I think it costs $75 more to do it independently. And then the next is a stool test. So the one we use is called GI Map. If anyone's had this test, you're welcome to say in the chat. This is looking for DNA, RNA information of gut bugs and bacteria. So it's pretty accurate because even if you have a pathogen that's not always active, they're still probably shedding some DNA. So it's a pretty great technology and a pretty active test. Oh, Kelly's had 2 GI maps recently. Interesting, Kelly. You're welcome to share more what improved or what didn't improve or that kind of a thing. Because some things can change, like things.
Yeah.
Did that happen for you?
My doctor suspected, my naturopathic doctor suspected some infections, and there were some issues with some pathogenic bacteria. We were able to reduce those through treatment, but then other things started cropping up, like parasites and stuff like that. So, yeah,
Yeah, it's
That's
literally
where
a can of worms to get into gut testing because yeah, some things will clear and then you'll see other things kind of
Yep.
flare up, unfortunately. Marissa's asking, how does it compare to Genova Labs GI effects? I don't really know. Mickey, do you know the answer to that? I know Genova's been in the business a while, but I don't know if they're using the same
No,
technology.
I don't. I've only used the GI effects once. It's just so expensive, and it's
Oh, is
hard to
it?
deal with that lab. So that's why I always go for the GI map. I get what I need from that, but I know you can get a lot of good information.
Okay.
I'm looking to see if I can find my test, but I'll post it if I can.
Yeah, Marissa, maybe I'm wondering if it's because you've had the GI effect lab and you're wondering if it's good or not. Maybe I'm wondering. Kelly had that one also. They are different. Okay. Yeah, and also like the Dutch, GI map is adding a lot of information. I took one of their training videos today to just kind of refamiliarize with it, and it's pretty impressive. And I had doctors' data parasite test. I think to some extent we get into what we're exposed to, and the Dutch and the GI map were really trending. Like everyone was talking about them in my community. And so I was like, I got to check out these tests, and I've been happy with them too, but it doesn't mean that that's only good options. But I think they're the best options. Marissa said Cleveland Clinic uses GI effects. Well, they have some pull, but yeah, I have to look into it. As a practitioner, it's a lot to deal with these labs. So unless I really had a need to like use a different test, then I would think I will just use these ones because it's like Mickey was saying, it's just a lot to deal with. They all have different procedures and all that. So this is a kit you get, and then you have to collect your own stool with a little spoon. So that's probably the worst part of it all. But it's a great detailed test. These are some different pathogens. So like in this sample report, you can see there's nothing here. So you want nothing. This means it's detectable level. So for these, there was no detectable level of anything except Giardia for this person. So if you were exposed to Giardia through some kind of probably drinking water exposure, it can really upset your microbiome for a while, even if you clear the Giardia. That was something I was learning about today. So you can see here with these numbers as well. This is kind of interesting because you'd think that this is below normal, but I think this was at least detected. Maybe it wasn't sky high. So this E2 means like 10 to the second power times 3.5. So sometimes these numbers are a little interesting or confusing because they do it by these multiples. They have a H. pylori section, and this person did have H. pylori. Some people have asymptomatic H. pylori, but some types of H. pylori are associated with potential of cancers or pretty serious conditions. So they have these virulence factors, which will tell you like which type of H. pylori it is, and that can help you treat it more effectively. And then here we have normal bacteria, where this person just had one level that was high. You can see the E8 versus the E7. So she was out of range, or he was out of range. And actually having some normal bacteria high can be inflammatory and just a sign of some dysbiosis. So you actually would prefer them to be in range. And this is, if you guys have probably heard of Bacteroides and Firmicutes, that determines a lot about your weight set point and your hunger. So the ratio is, even though this person was high on sort of the friendly microbiota, their ratio was still good for weight. So it's just pretty interesting. So it's kind of like if you have any number of things you're concerned about, you can get a lot of clues from this test. So dysbiotic bacteria, potential autoimmune triggers. So here you can see there's some not detected and some were detected below the below normal, but still detected. So these are all bacteria that have been associated with autoimmune disease developing. So pretty interesting how they did that there. And this person was showing some candida, but still in range. I don't remember this when I got tested, but they're checking for a couple viruses in the stool. It's pretty cool. And some parasites. And worms are newer to their testing too. Like these were not on their last, I don't know, the last I got tested like a year and a half ago. These were not on here. But everybody gets this, which is markers of digestive health. So this elastase is sort of like enzyme production. Steatocrit is how you break down fats. Glucuronidase, this one actually ties to hormones, because if this is too high, then you can break down the bonds of like when you're detoxing hormones. So that one is good to know about. Blood in the stool. Secretory IgA, this person is showing as normal. Almost no one shows as normal in our people. So just showing a thin gut lining, usually because of just stress and body stress. And then this is a marker showing response to gluten. It's not like the only response to gluten. I was learning today it could also show some cross-reactivity if that number is high. And we see these off a lot. Check the chat. Kelly says her glucuronidase was off both times. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I know when they first came out with it, Anne was like, I'm not sure if it's accurate, but I think it's been out a while now, so it's probably fairly accurate now. What is your practitioner doing about it, Kelly? I'm curious. And this calprotectin is a marker of inflammation, I think in the small intestine, so that can suggest SIBO. So then we would test this for SIBO. And zonulin is testing that's something about leaky gut. That's an add-on. I actually have never tested that. This is also an add-on, I think, because I've never seen this before. This is showing how you would react to antibiotics. So they could kind of pick the right ones if you have an infection. So that is also a super cool test. I think it's $359 US for that test. A lot of people will say, well, can't my doctor just run this? No, they don't have this like technology in your hospital, basically. So they don't have it. Okay, so you were able to treat some of the. Okay. I'm surprised. Well, yeah, it's interesting. The oil of the oregano changed this. Oh, you had high secretory IgA? Oh, yeah, I think you can get that when you have an infection. You can get high secretory IgA. That's a good point. Okay, let's move on. Hair tissue mineral analysis. I like this test because it's cheap. It's like one of the cheaper tests that you can get. Karen, the cost of a regular Dutch with us as providers is $250. If you order it through this other link I gave you, I think it's $325, maybe. And then if you order like a cycling test, it's more also. Okay, so hair tissue mineral analysis. I'll show you a couple here, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory. This is only like $55, which is really nice. So it's like very teeny tiny, but this example test is showing super high arsenic, if I can see that right. Yeah, this person is showing really high arsenic, which we learned can be from water, from chicken, from rice, from makeup, can really throw off everything in your body. I've actually never seen this kind of thing, but I have seen high uranium. This person has some high cadmium. Some people say that this should be basically zero. There shouldn't be any on here. But when I talk to the lab, they're like, if it's down here, they don't really care about it. They're not worried about it. It's also showing some what I call beneficial minerals. And the hair is not exactly like an accurate test for minerals. but I'll show you on the next report. It can suggest some different conditions in the body. Like for me, my magnesium is always sky high, and that's not because I have a lot of magnesium. It's because I'm pushing it out through my hair because of like body stress and imbalances. And this is something I'm still learning more about, but these ratios are pretty important and indicative of different things in the body. So let me show you the next one. Well, we switched to this company partly because it has a nice report it gives you to let you understand more about your hair tests. And it'll tell you, food sources of things, and it tells you your metabolic type, which I don't totally understand how they determine it. But like this person, they said had a fast metabolism, tendency towards increased adrenal activity and decreased thyroid activity. And then they give suggestions later on how to address that. So it's just interesting. And they've been doing this a long time. So I think that they, they know what they're doing. I like this line: chronic uncontrolled stress will eventually contribute to various vitamin and mineral imbalances. And the ability to maintain adequate energy levels and optimum health will decrease. So it's just another way to get to know your body. And this person had low calcium, and they think this is part of her age, probably because decreasing stomach acid and her metabolic type. So they're giving her some things to think about, and they didn't really give her food sources. And then they go on to talk about some of the other information from her test and what it means. Like here she had high tin, and so they're telling her sources of tin. So I think that this is worth. The other lab we were using was pretty much the same price, but we didn't get this report. Here's a little bit about her ratios and her arsenic. I feel like they should have told her more about arsenic because she had it so high. But that's part of what we do as practitioners. This is why I don't really, we could sell these on our website, but I just don't really feel entirely comfortable about it, because I think that people need advice when they go through this. They might end up just buying like some heavy metal kit and like doing some damage to their body. There's a few things on these reports I don't totally agree with, like they're encouraging you to have more dairy because of your fast metabolism type. So, you don't have to follow everything on here. These are some fun tips though about histamines. Here they're talking about food. Here now we're getting into food sources of things. So I think it's worth getting for the price point, because you never know what you might catch. Feel free to share any questions. Otherwise, I'll keep going. So this is the organic acids test. Does anybody, probably a couple of you have run that before. This is an interesting test. It tests 70 different markers in your urine. So you can use it for a lot of different things, but it seems like it's got a pretty good use for like neurological issues. And then it's probably the most effective test for yeast. When I got my oat test run, that was one of the most revealing things that it showed me was I had systemic candida, which I did not know. I probably still have it actually, but I have such a controlled diet that I just didn't know I had it. But I also have toxic mold and like other things in my body. So the candida was just going crazy. And this is why like I can't drink alcohol at all. And I can't have sugar at all, because I just have this controlled candida. And as soon as I have sugar, it goes bananas. But better to know and actually treat the candida head on. So I'm like being a bad patient. Like I treated it somewhat and then I stopped treating it and I never checked again. So that's not really the point of doing it. Okay, Marissa's asking about hair versus urine with the DMSA provocation test for heavy metals. Marissa, I'm not totally sure. I mean, partly I cannot prescribe DMSA and I'm not going to have people do urine tests from like, 1,000 miles away. It's just too complicated. I do challenge some other urine tests with sauna and with glutathione, but I don't have access to DMSA, which is more accurate. I've looked into it and I feel pretty good about the hair. No test is perfect. I think that the hair will show you like a longer amount of time. And if you take the DMSA, it'll push stuff out in the urine. So you're maybe getting some pretty interesting information about some stuff hiding in there. But things do get pushed out in the hair. I've had a client ask about mercury, and I asked this lab, and they said it's testing for all types of mercury. Could be from fish or teeth or whatever. We have seen high mercury on a hair test, but I know there's that like triple test. Mickey knows about this triple test for mercury that I think is like, I don't know if it's blood, urine, and hair, Mickey. I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess in short, I'm not entirely sure which is better because I don't think there is one opinion on which is better. But the hair is very simple and easy to take, and we do seem to catch some things, but a lot of our clients don't really have much, which is good. And I even asked the guy, I'm like, why am I not really finding very much? And he thought that was unusual. So he just thinks like you guys are healthy, basically. Okay, so oat test, a urine test, and you maybe use it for a variety of things. I would probably use it only as an addition to some, Anne uses it on her own a little bit more, but I would probably use it more as an addition to like a mold test or a chemicals test.
Yeah, I'm using it with alongside the mycotox test.
Yeah, I think that's to me like the best use of it. And I'm not that great at reading these reports yet, so I'm not going to really read you guys the results. But Mickey, if you have any that you see on here you want to point out, it's testing 70 things, so it's a little overwhelming. When I've talked to the lab, they really only care about the ones that are really out of range from what I hear. They don't nitpick every single thing on the test.
One of the things I think is really interesting about this test that I recently learned is in the amino acid section, if they're all low, that's either a problem with absorbing protein or not eating enough protein in your diet. I thought that was really interesting.
Where is that?
Amino acids, it's I think page 3. Okay. I can't really see your thing.
Oh, okay. There's amino acids about like the mitochondria, but I don't think that's what you're talking about. So here's some stuff about neurotransmitters we talked about. So I think it could be good for really good for mental health. I think this could be a really nice test for children who are having behavioral issues and you suspect their gut is involved, because it's a little easier of a test to take. And I think it could give you some good insight for that. They also have quite a few nutritional markers here about B vitamins, which we talked about being so important for detox and women's health. And they have some things about mitochondrial health. So that's why I like it too with testing for toxins, because you can see how your body is keeping up. Here's the amino acids. Okay. So this person is showing a lot of them low. And there's a little chart about amino acids. It's a lot. It's a lot of information on these. This is, I don't think one you would want to test yourself. I think they might let you, but yeah, this lab will let you test. I think they will let you test some things yourself, but it is definitely more money. And then there's the chemicals test. So this is not metals and not mold. It's just other chemicals. So they're testing 172 different pollutants, but it's just using like 18 metabolites. So they kind of group them together. I had this test run in the spring. I thought it was really interesting. Similar to the oat test, it's easy to look at this and think, I'm in a lot of trouble. But actually, unless you're like way off the chart, like they're not that worried about it, interestingly enough. So like these ones, I don't think they would be worried about, but I'll show you some that would be more worrisome. Is that one? Okay, like this one is really high, right? It's all the way up to the 100th percentile or more. And it's a little hard to see, but this is like an N-acetyl group of chemicals that are byproducts of petroleum processing used in the production of rubber, known carcinogen, heart disease, car tires. This could be the stuff they use on playgrounds. You know, they have that crumbly rubber everywhere. Oh, that's gross. Okay. So, and yeah, this is cool. They're saying that they put that on athletic fields and then like the bouncy field and it's all rubber and then that can increase your cancer rates. I mean, it's not cool, but it's an interesting tidbit. Somebody's coming on here. Yeah, and I've talked to them. I'm like, I think a lot of people are like, well, why would I be exposed to this? Obviously, if you're a soccer player or whatever, a teacher, you might be getting exposed, but sometimes you just don't know how you're exposed. It's just in the air. It's from a factory or it's from the gas station or whatever. And then I've talked to the lab and they said they also see trends where they're seeing like a whole bunch of whatever chemical come up in California. It's like something is in the air from somewhere. Oh, Marissa said, yeah, that's true, Marissa. They do use that in fitness clubs for the floor. I know. It's just, we just don't think about things in our culture. We just do things. We don't think about what's in this rubber all over the floor. They do that at like CrossFit places too, don't they? Here's another high one this person had that is an herbicide. She's way up high for that. Now this is interesting. They're saying that this is kind of the one used with Agent Orange. So this could be one that's like still in her body from, I don't know, could it be still from like her father or something? I don't know. I mean, that could have affected her, but I don't know if it's still be in her body. Oh, Marissa can't go around those floors. Ugh. So this person, I think, in this sample looks a little lower than I would see. But you can find a few interesting ones. And this report usually gives some nice recommendations, which is really great. And a lot of them overlap, and a lot of them we've talked about before. So glutathione supplementation, NAC supplementation. They talk about sauna. They talk about niacin. Let's see, it's all kind of repeating. Avoiding exposure, good advice. Avoiding styrofoams, good advice. So it's nice. You can kind of read all these B12 therapy. You can read all these and for ideas about how to treat it. Sometimes they'll also say antioxidants, like from our essential oils from last week with the like rosemary and turmeric and stuff. So those, anything with that antioxidant, this is really great for this, area of health. And they're often very easy to take. Oh, Kelly thinks the Agent Orange is referring to glyphosate. Might be, but they have a glyphosate report. So I don't think this one is actually glyphosate. So I'll show you that one next. I think it might be next. This test, I think it's around $250, but you can bundle them too. So here's the glyphosate test, Kelly. There's only one result on here. It's glyphosate. You have to pay extra for it. So I did get mine run, and mine was around 75th percentile, which I thought was pretty high considering. So I've been definitely more aware of it. I did get my water filter done, But I have to say, I'm really struggling with eating out and being out lately because I know I'm just getting exposed like so much. And it's tough because you don't always want to just sit at home and eat. So if you're worried about glyphosate because of your child or where you live, or you're just curious for your gut health, it certainly disrupts your gut health. You can do this as like an add-on test or in a package. Somebody's gonna mute somebody. Okay, and this is the mold test by the same lab. This is testing mold toxins in your body. It's not testing every type of mold. It's only testing 3 or 4 types. But now this person, again, looks pretty good. She's in range on one toxin. When I talk to the lab, they don't really care unless you're way out here. So you can look at this and get freaked out, but it's not that bad according to the lab. Hi, Lisa. So I don't, oh, that she did have another one here. She had this one really high off the chart. So again, a lot of these, you're just treating it the same way, but at least you know, and then you can retest. And occasionally, like Kelly, I think who said it, like you might treat and something else shows up or something seems to get worse because you're mobilizing it. But that's just how it goes. So here they talk a little bit about toxins too and sauna. Oh, here's a section more where they're talking about antioxidants and sauna. And look at this, binders, bentonite, clay, zeolite. And they're talking about mycotoxins in food. Anna's asking if you have an old exposure to mold, could you still do the test? Yeah, I would do sauna and glutathione before. I think it's like 24 hours before. You want to try to push it out of your body so it shows up on the test. But yeah, Anna, you could still do it. I just tested someone recently who had an old exposure, and she did have some markers, but they weren't like sky high. They were like, I don't know, like she was like 11 here or something. So yeah, it's just interesting to talk to the lab because sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, you really have mold, and the lab's like, eh. And it's helpful because they've seen so many. So it is helpful. Mostly I would recommend if you are in a house with it that you start with the house, which is this test next, the dust test. I don't have an example report for you on this one, but I can show you their page and you just order this yourself. You can get a mold inspector or you can do this test. And this is just like, I feel like the pages moved around. But yeah, you can look, they have some like inspectors they recommend. So that could be good. And then you order, well, here's where you order your test kit. That one's $419, but I think there's a cheaper one. This one's $319. What's the difference?
One's mold spores and one's mycotoxins, or one's both.
Oh, okay. Is that the difference? One is just mycotoxins. I would probably just do the mycotoxins and save money if it were me, because I think that's what you're most concerned about. As Mickey knows, you know, there's no like there's no like cheap out for mold. It's just always expensive, I think. I'm just muting a couple people with some background noise, but you can unmute yourself if you want to say something. Anna did the Mycometrix ERMI. Yeah, I've heard of that one, Anna. I'm just not as familiar with that one. Did it say anything? Did it detect anything? And here's another one that tests sort of for mold. it's a nasal swab test for something called MARCoNS, which is a staph infection in your nose that is strong and disrupts other things. It disrupts melatonin production, which is a really important antioxidant. Oops. Or you can use it just if you have chronic sinus stuff. So I haven't tested many people with this, but I have tested it for myself twice, and I have it. My husband had it. Can't remember if my son had it. Mickey, have you had this test? I think this is an important test that isn't known about enough, this MARCoNS test. The pricing I have.
Yes, I have it.
You have? Were you
Of course.
positive?
Yeah, and this I'm on my third round of different nasal things. Right now I'm trying X-Clear and Argentin 23, but I had BEG spray, and then I had silver with EDTA.
Oh, you didn't? It didn't work?
Nope.
Yeah, I think it's stubborn. I talked to the lab and they said that silver always works if you do it for like 2 months. And they like the brand Results RNA, which luckily was the brand I did. So I was like, sweet. And then you can also potentially put in biocidin, what's it called? LPS, liposomal biocidin, in with a silver spray. But Mickey, I haven't retested. But he said to do that like 3 times a day, silver spray with the. He just said silver spray for like 2 months. But I was put in the biocidin because that's what my friend with biocidin. So this isn't that expensive, and they don't run everything if you look clear. They only like keep going if you have MARCoNS. Like I had one client who tested and she didn't have MARCoNS, but she had some bacterial overgrowth. And he said, well, on some people that wouldn't cause any problem, but on her, she had chronic sinus issues. So she would have been doing the silver spray for the bacteria in her nose. Got a lot of comments here. Anna's treating it for it without the test. Oh, Anna did some different medication sprays for it. I think you can get the test, Anna. I'm not sure why. Maybe they don't. I mean, it's a U.S. company, but I do think it's hard to treat. Marissa said she used, what is that, colloidal silver? And it took care of it. I used Sovereign Silver Hydrosol. Okay. Oh, cholestyramine. Oh, yeah. Well, that's big guns. Gosh, you guys have more mold than I knew in this group. Okay, this is the last test I have on here. How we go so fast? This is a food sensitivity test. Now, again, there are many food sensitivity tests, and my colleague runs the Cyrex one, but this is my favorite test, and it covers 123 foods and 27 food additives. And I liked it a lot. I think it's, some people are just feeling like some foods are irritating them and they can't tell which one. So this test, it's a blood test, which says not as convenient, but it challenges the food to your blood and sees how it responds. And it can get a sense of like if it's very reactive or mildly reactive. This test I thought was very helpful to me. And there's still some stuff on that test that I don't think I do well with. I think it gives you some sense of like your bio individuality. Ultimately, if your gut gets healthier, you can eat more food. But like tea and chocolate were on my test, which I was devastated. And I ate those things a lot. And they're both potentially moldy and other issues, and they just aren't a good fit for my body, even still. So, not that I never have them, but I have them less. And you give up the foods for 3 months before you reintroduce them. Marissa got rid of hers. That's great. Okay, good to know. Mickey had avocados on her test. Oh, yeah. You might have been overeating avocados. Also, stuff comes up when we overeat it. We need to rotate our foods a little bit more. Here's the foods that test. I don't have a test result, but it's like not I can show you a different one. So it's a lot of foods, and then some things that are interesting, like food colorings. This could be really good for kids too, right? With kind of hyperactivity issues. There's a few medications. Oh, I didn't know they tested rooibos tea. That's interesting. So, I don't know about this either. It says 170, 130. So they must have like different options depending how much money you want to spend. I don't remember these 3 different options. And I don't know if I have exact pricing. But I just added this one because I like this test. And I didn't put thyroid on here, but I will give you a little side talk on thyroid. You guys are all so smart. You probably don't even need it, but you can order from a lot of places, but this is a lab that I'm working with lately called yourlabwork.com. And it might not be the cheapest thyroid panel, but they are going to like bundle some of the thyroid stuff for me. And it's not a bad price. And you can just select. So they have, for example, a thyroid bundle where you get all of the above ones. And then they just don't have reverse T3, which I don't think is really the end of the world, to be honest. But I think that they might bundle that. But yeah, so you can get, so there's no regular, let's see. They don't have regular T4 and T3 here. Why do they not have that? I might have to ask them about that. Why do they not have regular T4 and T3? Ultimately, you would want regular T4 and regular T3 in addition to 3, the free versions. And you do kind of want reverse T3 ultimately. So that is getting a little spendy. But if you just want the basics, this is pretty good. I mean, this free thyroid is ultimately what your body is using. And then they have some other tests of sex hormones. You can get a CBC for $30, which is pretty nice. Where is it? Not there. So here's their Dutch test. It's $3.89. You can get the Dutch test from them. Why am I not seeing this stuff? I don't know. But anyway, it's on here somewhere. You can get, why is it not here? Oh, is it general health screening? There we go. The CBC, $30. So if I were going to get some stuff run, I would add this. And okay, they have an Epstein-Barr panel. I want to see what's on it because I'm the one who asked them to add that, but I don't know if they have the full amount of the Epstein-Barr markers that I would want. But sometimes you just have to kind of make do. I've had a very hard time finding all 5 Epstein-Barr markers. The only lab that I got recommended to do it doesn't return my calls. So kind of like Mickey said, there's a point where you just don't want to deal with labs because they're just not doing a good job of running their business. So ideally you want 5 different Epstein-Barr things. So I don't know how many they say are on here. It might just be 2. I'm not sure. They're not really giving details. Is it possible to send blood from Canada? Yes. It just has to be able to arrive fast enough. It's like an overnight test. So yeah, it's possible. I would just, Anna, if you want to do something, make sure you're communicating first. I'm not totally sure that I don't think this lab will let you mail blood. You have to go to the lab. But there's another company called SpectraCell. Oh, Mickey's talking about SpectraCell on here. Yes, SpectraCell will let you send blood. That's slow. I'd say it slows things down, but it's a little less efficient in some ways. But because the lab has to send the blood out and stuff like that. But the SpectraCell will, Anna, get you from Canada. So if there's something, even with what I'm covering here, I'm probably still not covering enough. So SpectraCell can help you, I think, Anna. Sarah asked, she was just diagnosed with Hashimoto's and wondering whether tests may help clarify contributing factors. That's a great question. Well, I would test your gut, Sarah, for sure. That's probably number one. I would do a GI map. But beyond that, I would maybe think about what other symptoms you have. Like, are you worried about toxic exposure or mold? So many people with Hashimoto's have mold, or vice versa. It helps you develop Hashimoto's. But Hashimoto's is developing all over the place, from mitochondrial issues, from EMF, so many factors. But I would do the gut test because that's always having to do with the thyroid. I would do some of the essential oils, Sarah. I don't know if you listened to that one last time, but I would do some of the essential oils on your neck and on your gut. Certainly, they do play into female hormones, so you might want to consider doing the Dutch test too. That being said, oh, it's good, Sarah. Let me go over a little bit about our private coaching, since we're sort of talking about what to do next. Mickey said to check for selenium or take selenium. Yeah, you should take selenium. Maybe you should check for it too. You can check that with SpectraCell. You can check nutrient levels. I didn't put that on here either. So many tests. Let me just show you our coaching page. Whoop. I know some of you have already had some testing and already kind of in the middle of some stuff, but if you'd like to run an additional test with us, like if you just want to do the gut test, Sarah, I would maybe schedule with Anne, and she's here, and you can use your coupon code and then just email with us and say, I want to run that GI map, and we'll send you the kit. So these new appointments right now are a little spendy, but we're letting people test before they come to them. So it's like several hours of work for us because we're ordering your lab, going over your lab, reviewing your health history, and making a protocol on the first appointment. So it's quite a bit that you're getting out of it. And then we have the follow-ups are a lot cheaper. So then we can make sure your protocol's working. Like you say, you get on a gut protocol, and I listen to Kelly, like, it's not simple. Like, things change, and you want someone there to follow up with. And we're all different with different supplements. So you might not go well with the supplements you start on, and you have to change them. So it's good to have that ongoing support. So you can use the coupon code for new patient appointments or the 6-month program. So the 6-month program includes 3 tests. It's the only thing that includes labs. It includes GI map, the Dutch test, and the heavy metals test, which are, I think, the good starting point for most people. If for some reason you're different and you want to run toxins tests, or, you can either add them on or you can switch them out. So it's flexible, but it's 7 sessions over, I just set 6 months is pretty much, we don't want you in this thing forever. We want you making progress and doing your protocol. And if you really work at it for 6 months, a lot can change in 6 months, and that's ultimately what we want. You can always do more sessions after that, but we don't want you like, oh, I still haven't ordered my stuff. It's been like a month. That's kind of like, we're here to get you moving along. If you were interested in essential oils from last week, but you want some more help, you can, this is not even supposed to be on this page. Oh my gosh. You can do this session right here. Okay. And if you want more information, there's like stuff about our approach. There's some little links about the different lab tests and stuff like that here. Are there insurance codes that we can use to cover some of the costs? Not usually, but you can use a health savings account, Lisa, if you have some. I use my health savings account on all of this stuff till I run it into the ground. So that usually goes fine for coaching or labs, but you usually cannot code it. No. I mean, a health coach can't code. You can try to be reimbursed. We could give you a receipt, or the lab. And maybe back up. Some of the labs you can try to get through the lab reimbursed. That's actually true. Sometimes you can get reimbursed through the lab. Some of the labs will do that for you, and some I don't think do it. But that's true. Some of them do say, put in your information, we'll try to get it paid for. So it's a possibility. I just tell people, like, don't count on it. You know, just don't count on it, because we can't know that for sure for you. All right. Any other questions? So I'll remind you too that the offer about essential oils that we did last week, this month in November, you can sign up and get $50 credit for the following month. Let me show you where that is.
Hey, Bridget.
Yeah.
I have missed some of these sessions, and I wanted to know if will I have access to these on your website for a while, so I can go back and hear some of the things that I missed. And
yeah, we talked about that earlier before you got on, and this is the page. It's okay. This is the page. It's just right off my homepage.
Okay.
So you just go to the homepage. I was saying, like, in a year, it might not still be on the homepage, but it's on the homepage right now. It's here. You click on this thing, Detox Your Hormones, and then you enter your password, which is Detox Love, and then you have all of them here. And this is today, so I'll finish that up. This is the essential oils one that I wanted to show again. So yeah, no exactly notes on this, but there is a bonus book, and these are the 2 kits that will both earn you 50 points to spend in December. So there's a detox kit that's really great that I made myself, and there's a hormone kit that I made based on my friend's hormone work. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. But that is that. And the supplement thing we did, and I wasn't totally organized for it when we did it with you guys, but whoops. Hold on one second. There's a supplement sale going on through Saturday. I extended it. So it's 15% off most of the things in the store. Plus, we're going to give you a sample of Julva feminine cream. And then if you order like a multivitamin pack, we give you a free magnesium powder. So it's a pretty good sale going on in the store right now. And you can find that from my main page too. So right now, here up at the top is the coupon code, and it takes you to the store. And a lot of the stuff we talked about, like glutathione, binders, hormone herbal formulas, are all here. And it helps me a lot for you guys to buy during the sale, because it lets me see what I should carry in the shop. I'm going to be putting out a newsletter about this product for cellular energy that I really love. I know I talked about it already. We've sold a few of these products for like brain inflammation. We've sold some dry brush kits. This is a glutathione spray I use. You could use that as like a challenge when you're running a test. And we have some different kits here. And then we have these hormone products. We added, actually, since the last call, we added this 5-HTP for sleeping. And these are the multivitamin kits that get you a free magnesium for $33. There's some estrogen, supplements. We kind of talked about these, so I won't go over them in detail, but there's a pretty good variety, but I don't totally know what people are needing. So we'll see what people like. And I made this category on sale too, which is the personal care. It's like sunscreen. You probably don't need that anymore, but this toothpaste is amazing. It's a herbal essential oil toothpaste that changes the microbiome of your mouth. This is my favorite natural deodorant, and this is my favorite skin serum. So yeah, that's a little tour. Any other questions? This is your last chance for the whole course. But you can also come on tomorrow's webinar, which is about supplements. So if you missed that one, let me try to get that link. Hold on a second and I can get it for you. Andrea, so we have a couple different kinds of magnesium in our shop. We have a chelated magnesium powder that's like a magnesium attached to an amino acid that I like a lot. And then our multivitamin has a magnesium malate, I think it was, which I've been taking for like 2 years, and I thought it was like a chelated magnesium, but it's not. It's technically like a magnesium salt, but it gives you no digestive problems. I've been taking it for a really long time. So it's a pretty gentle magnesium. So those are the two that we have. Okay, this is the link to the webinar that is tomorrow. It's a little early. It's 2 p.m. Pacific, which is 5 Eastern. So if you missed that one and you want more supplements or you just kind of want to review what we talked about last time, I'd love to have you on.
Will it be, will you leave it on your website too, in case we can't make it?
That's a good idea. Yeah, why don't I post it to the group and maybe I'll add it. Well, you know what, Lisa, I guess I have a version of that already in the supplement section. What was that, lesson 3? I'm getting too many tabs here. Hold on a second. So well, Lisa, you were there for that one, right? About supplements, or no? Maybe you weren't.
I can't remember.
Okay.
No, I think I missed that one.
Okay. Let me put the link in here. So we did go over supplements in the class, but this, I guess it is a little different on tomorrow's webinar. So I will post it. The one we did as a class was a little bit more about the concepts of like, why should you take magnesium? What's the best type? What does it do in your body? Whereas in the webinar tomorrow, I'm pretty much just going to go through the shop and like let people just tour around and ask questions. And I will talk about why I picked things, but it's a little bit more like product heavy. So Lisa, I put the link to the supplement lesson in there. I will add that to the lesson and I'll let you guys know on Facebook, and I'll send an email too, because I know a lot of people have missed here and there. So I'll try to kind of sum it all up. Any other questions? You guys are probably ready for dinner or bed. Okay, well, I really want to say a big thank you. This is a very smart group is probably the first word I'd use, which is very aware, and I really appreciate you guys being out there. One idea I had for this course, let me know if you'd be interested, it's not really developed yet, is to make sort of like an ambassadorship where you guys know a lot, and to just sort of make I don't even know what it'll be, but just a way to kind of say that you're like detox ambassadors or something like that. Just to kind of like start spreading the word. I'm sure that a lot of you guys are already spreading the word in your own way, but I'll let you know if I have a more formed idea on that. But really my bigger vision is to really just be spreading this message, because you guys are so knowledgeable. But if you walk down the street to meet your neighbor, they don't know 5% of this stuff that we're talking about, right? That's how most people are living, and it's hurting our planet. It's hurting our health. So the more that you can share it, or just, you might not be super vocal and outgoing, but just if you want to just say, oh yeah, I'm this thing, I'm a detox ambassador or whatever, then maybe people start asking. I don't know. Mickey said, let's get t-shirts. Yeah, I'm actually already have a t-shirt plan that will say Detox Warrior that I'm pretty excited about. So maybe we'll have that by the springtime. Because I just think the more awareness there is to this, like, it makes me so happy. I go to Pilates at this place and they're lovely ladies. But they use like all the worst like soap and stuff in the bathroom. But I heard them talking about like avoiding gluten, and I'm like, okay, well, people are like receptive. They just don't know. So I'm going to give them a bunch of natural products for Christmas for their bathroom. But yeah, just the more we can get out and spread this word beyond ourselves is great. If you want to share in the Facebook group, like what you're doing, like Lisa's in practice. I don't know how many of you guys are in practice. Amber can go shake it up at the at the Adidas like employee lunchroom. Portland is pretty progressive, Amber, but like you gotta, when you leave the bubble, it's very different. So you start to think if you live in Portland that everyone's super green, but it's not totally true. All right, well, I'll get in touch with you guys when I have more idea about that. Kelly's just getting her business going. Kelly, you're going to do great. That's awesome. Cool. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great night. And I'll send a couple follow-up emails. Yeah, if you want to unmute, feel free, and we can say goodbye to each other. Let me try to unmute. Yeah, thanks, Anna. Lena, it was nice to meet you, Lena.
Hi, thank you. This was great.
Thank you, everybody.
Really.
Wonderful. Learned a lot.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.